Your bunker, no bunker is going to help you from that one.
And have you ever heard there's it's in the Middle East or Russia or one of the Middle Eastern countries that there's a giant underground city that dates back
What?
to ancient times that could support 20,000 people and has multi-layers and deep wells drilled to water and has whole like hospital areas set up and living areas set up.
What is this?
And we're like, is this how people survive the last earth-ending?
I've never heard of this. You should look this up. I'm gonna keep. I'm recording again. By the way, just for your awareness. I forget what I'm supposed to do here. Oh, board Bowser's sub.
Yeah, it's the Darren Kuyu underground city under the era of Byzantine. It was built during the Byzantine era, 780 to 1180 AD, after death, I guess. Could have housed 20,000 people.
Where is this?
It is... It's in Turkey.
That's bananas. Well, have you listened at all to like not John Hancock?
Graham Hancock?
Talking about Herbie Hancock. Duh. Yeah, Graham Hancock about like ancient civilizations and all that.
Yeah.
It's-
Gogegli Tepe.
Oh, yes. Oh, he loves Gobekli Tepe.
Gobekli Tepe.
Yeah, I don't know. The more he talks about that stuff and like how they've gone over the rainforest with LiDAR and
Yeah, how they haven't found even just a fraction of what.
yeah, just found like all those ancient like evidence of these ancient civilizations, and I'm just like, that would be crazy. It would be crazy. Like, hey, this was oh dang it, that was unlucky.
Epic fail.
Yeah. Well, at least I got that one up. No, there's something really interesting about the idea of like a total global event that just puts us back into the Stone Age. I don't know why that interests me so much.
Yeah. Has
it's-
Graham Hancock talked about that, or like where civilizations had to restart a couple times?
Yeah.
And like, what did we used to know that we aren't even aware of? And
Yeah, he talked about some of that stuff, and it's just kind of mind blowing. Like that's something that could have been a possibility at one point. Like, what did we have before? Do you think that we had tanks? Do you think that we had instruments of war that we do now? Did we have computers? Did all that is stone the only thing that's left?
yeah,
you know?
'cause they point to like the pyramids and different ways giant monolithic statues and stones were moved or drilled, and they're like, we can't even do that as good. It would take our own modern technology a long time to even compare to that.
Yeah.
Or at least at the very least, like we were not aware of them even having the capability of doing this back then.
Well, and it kind of makes you like, I don't know. It's just really interesting to think that there was even a possibility of that. It just, we used to maybe have technologies that we have now, and the planet decided to, reset itself, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like, I don't know. There's just, and like people just had to retreat into caves, and that was the only way they could survive it. And then
Not
you
to
come
mention
out
that,
of
like, and it took like thousands of years to even get back to where the world was in a way that they could come back out of the caves and like start moving back around and building things and stuff. And
There's a game that I love called Chrono Trigger, and it's very time based, where it's kind of difficult to explain, but it's just it's time based. You can travel through time to all different periods, and so like the time you start out in is like a medieval type of time with some modern technologies, and then you start time traveling, and suddenly you're like going back, and you end up in a time where like the planet is ice on the surface, but then there's like islands in the sky, and a ancient civilization that figured out like how to live up in the sky, and they figured out how to like harness magic and stuff like that, while the surface dwellers are basically cavemen, and these other people like, you know, ascended to this, you know, basically utopia in the sky. It's really interesting. It makes me think of Graham Hancock stuff.
yeah,
Of like, hey, there were these Neanderthals, you know, wandering around some of these places who they just barely knew. They knew how to hunt, and they knew how to do some of this other stuff. And then I like to think that at the same period of time, there's also, there's also these scholarly minds who have modern technologies and are able to like harness, you know, the stars, and I don't know. I'm getting a little too geeked out about it, but it's just something really interesting to me that there's so much about time that's been lost, and you just kind of wonder, like, I mean, up until like 200 years ago, we don't even have like accurate descriptions of time or history for some of those periods.
One of the interesting things he had pointed out was how Antarctica was supposedly only discovered by us. 1 second.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Where it was, the human race discovered it like, what was it, like 400 or 500 years ago? And
Yeah.
yet they found ancient maps where, like, 2,000-year-old maps, and it's clearly been graphed already.
Yeah, and they're like, how did? Clearly, somebody had already found it.
Yeah. Oh, that's bananas. It's wild. It's just wild. I don't know. There's something so cool about that. And then they start... where they lose me sometimes is like when they start bringing aliens into it. They're like,
Yeah.
the aliens helped create the pyramids because there's no way humans could have. And then you're like...
That's usually when
Oh, boy.
Graham starts going off about his ayahuasca trips or psilocybin or so, you know.
Oh, yeah,
and
we
then,
got some psychedelics and
and
stuff.
then that usually leads to like, I think the leaders of the known world should all have to take psychedelics before taking office, and then it just starts going, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's where he loses me. And then I start to question the rest of the stuff that he
Yeah,
says.
yeah. It's kind of at his own detriment. But I mean, his theory is it would make those experiences. I've never obviously had any experience like that, but he said it makes him just feel that complete, like everything's connected or interwoven, kind of. And he's like, you just would be a more thoughtful, caring person before taking office, and you wouldn't have all these greedy people out for themselves at at other people's expense. So I get his
I do get some of
his
that
reasoning
stuff.
behind it, I guess, but also it's unreasonable to think or improbable that we're gonna force everybody to have to do that.
I don't think that, like, I don't know. Just like some people I don't think should drink alcohol, I think the same thing with drugs, even if they are legal.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that some people are capable of handling themselves in that state.
No. I mean, the only thing that seems to make sense to me is when he's talking about how it benefits some people that are like have PTSD from war or something crazy, and they can't move past it. And and he's like, there's some studies that think it opens up new neural pathways in your brain to bypass it and get your brain unstuck and be able to heal or stop giving into the trauma that you've experienced or something. That kind of makes sense. Like if that could be used as a useful tool, like I'm open to them trying things that could benefit people, but recreationally it's hard to justify it, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know that I agree with any real recreational use of any drug.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think even with alcohol, I think the only reason alcohol is
Alcohol's
okay-
a crazy one. It's not
Alcohol-
good for you at all.
No, exactly. But yet it's so widely accepted as being okay.
And promoted and exploited
And I don't know. That's where I don't know. Like even marijuana. I don't know. I have my issues with marijuana. I think it's just. I think the only reason I really hate it, and I shouldn't say hate it, why I don't love the idea of it being legal is just mostly because the smell is just so. It's not like you can just like you can have a beer and enjoy it to yourself, and it's totally fine.
yeah.
You know, you're not affecting anybody else. You can sit and enjoy it and get a little buzz and not bother anybody.
Yeah.
If you're a responsible adult.
Right.
But marijuana, I mean, and this is where I think like the gummies are a lot more okay. I would much rather have the gummies and edibles than well, the camera turn so I can actually see what I'm doing. Where was I going with this? I think the smell is just it's so offensive. It is. It is not like it's what's that smell? Oh, that's not. Oh, it's not that bad. It smells like a flowery meadow. No, it smells like a skunk. And it's not just your room, it's the whole dang town.
Yeah.
Like, it freaking... I have some neighbors who do it around here, and it's like the entire block reeks.
Yeah. And you walk past it and you're like, oh, that's great. Okay.
Yeah, it's just like... And it hits you like a wave, and you're like, whoa! That's some stanky weed.
Yeah. Yeah, we would experience that when we go camping. You walk by and you're like, oh, okay. Bringing the kids to the pool and you're like, oh, boy.
Yeah.
The kids are like, oh, there's a skunk. And you're like, yep, that was a skunk.
Yep, that was a very grassy skunk.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, too, my issue with alcohol is like some people should not drink. And I think that there are way more people who shouldn't drink than there are people who shouldn't smoke marijuana.
Yeah, I think alcohol is supposed to be more damaging to your body, from what people say.
Well, and you can't... I mean, it definitely kills way more people than marijuana ever has.
Yeah.
I mean, the long-term effects of marijuana, I mean, the jury's still kind of out on that. They claimed for a long time that, there's no lasting effects and all this, but now they're starting to find, like, hey, there's more here than we thought.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm like, I don't know. Across the board, my feelings with it is, if you are doing something where it's in more control of you than you are of it, you probably should just stay away from that.
Yeah, that should be the rule of thumb for all those things.
I mean, in a perfect world, but
Yeah.
what is this one? Top of the Town.
How long have we been going?
I don't know. Oh yeah, we've been going 15 minutes. Well, that was a pretty good one.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, see y'all next time on another episode of
Smart Donkeys.
Like, comment, and subscribe, and share with your friends. And yeah,
Nailed it.
There should be 1, 2, 3. Nailed it.
Still
We're
not.
Still late. 1, 2, 3.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Okay, there we go. That felt intentional.